We are back, and I want to welcome my guest today, Troy Rudeseal. You, my friend, you're coming off a bunch of really fun movies. Black
Yeah,
Phone, Halloween Kills. You've done some TV, MacGyver, things like that. But you've been kind of steamrolling here. I'm happy to have you.
I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I feel very fortunate. I've been doing this a long time, 30 years or so. Primarily started in the theater, but the 10 years of film at least, and kind of in earnest. And the last few years have been very good to me. I'm very fortunate.
What was it like on the set of Black Phone? Like first of all, what was the audition process like? But you played Detective Miller.
Mhm.
You're on the case with another detective, and you're peppered throughout the film. You've got some really great scenes. One of my favorite scenes is the one with you and the sister trying to interrogate her about the black balloons, because that was something that wasn't told to the public in the investigation, and the fact that that trickled back to you guys, that made you go seek her out. Love the interactions between you and your partner. What was that audition process like? And like, what was it like to get the call that it was booked?
Yeah, the audition. So everything's taped now, and this was right during the pandemic too. So everything was on lockdown. So it was a taped audition, and we actually I read for the scene in the office that we did with Madeline McGraw and E. Roger Mitchell, but we were to read both characters, so you were doing the whole thing as one cop.
Oh,
Uh,
okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
and basically read all of the dialogue and pretend you had somebody there with you. And then I had a call back for it. I had a Zoom call back with Scott Derrickson, the director, and then just shortly thereafter, I just got word that I booked it. So it was pretty exciting. I was glad to hear about it. I didn't know anything about it. They were going by a fake name of
Yeah,
Static.
yeah, Static was it? And then I thought it was even called something else before they ended up on Black Phone. Static was the production. It was like Phone Static,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think it rolled back to the old school Phone, but Static was what it was originally titled.
Right. Then I got wind of where the source material came. It's from some source material by Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son and a very prolific horror writer in his own right. And so I was able to kind of read it and see
And
where.
it was a short story, is what it was.
Yeah, it's in a
Okay,
book, collection of modern ghosts, I think is what it's called. Or, but yeah, it's one of the short stories in
so
that
you
book.
did your homework.
I try. I try.
It's
Uh,
hard.
but and so I mean I got good feedback from Scott. I think he really was interested in that scene coming off well. So we rehearsed that scene ahead of time.
Yeah,
We had
this was Scott, the director,
yeah, Scott Derrickson,
Scott Derrickson.
and he has a writing partner, Robert Cargill, and they write together. So they partner on pretty much everything, and they're quite a team. But we had a Zoom meeting and went through that ahead of time before we actually arrived on set. Madeline, I think, had already started filming, and she had the bulk of. I think she filmed longer than anyone else in the film. She had the most days, and I think Eraj and I had like second behind her. We actually filmed more and were on set more than I think almost anyone else, which is odd because we ended up being in about 13 scenes that are kind of peppered throughout the film. So we were there for a couple of weeks and then took a break, and they brought Ethan Hawke in the middle, and he filmed basically everything because he and Mason are in the basement, doing all of their stuff. It is just the two of them pretty much.
Sure,
So they
sure.
this whole thing in a big bulk in the middle, and then we came back and kind of bookended for another week or so after that.
The beauty of, I mean, I'm an actor, you're an actor. The beauty about what you were able to pull off on screen, it looks like you guys really were partners forever. I mean, there's a beautiful moment. I'm going to pull up a clip of Black Phone. We're gonna add this to the stream. We're gonna talk about this for a second, and let's see. this is the scene where you go to interrogate or like just ask questions for this one actress here, because she has these dreams. Well, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Black Phone, guys, you got to go. It's in Redbox right now. It's streaming online. You could get, I think it's pretty much everywhere. But this great scene right here. And what I'll do is I'm going to do this in segments, because like we talked when we were in the waiting room, that I just got to make sure I don't do any copyright stuff. So, but this is I really enjoyed this scene, and there's this one beautiful moment, and I'm going to point it out. It's between you and your partner that is so subtle, but it's so important. Here, we're going to play some more.
Yeah, I don't think we have sound on my end.
You don't have sound on your end?
Nope.
Wait a minute. Oh my God. You're not hearing sound?
No, I think it's part of their copyright stuff, maybe.
No, hold on. You know what? Let me go in the comment section. Is anybody hearing sound? Is there sound? Is there sound? I want to make sure that I got that right. We can't hear. Okay. Oh, no. Is there sound? Is there sound? That's all right. So I wonder if it's because I have dual monitors going. So I'm wondering if it's because I got to put it on. It's on dual monitors. Oh, probably should have tested that out first. Technology. Why is it not? I can hear it in my headphones. So obviously I'm getting that. Let me see if I can drag it over. I don't know. Can I drag it over? Let's see. Can you hear it now?
I can't.
Still can't.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, this is bumming me out.
Let it play and I'll just mouth along.
Let's see. I know, right? There's this really great moment. All right, we'll just talk about it, where you guys overlap each other with dialogue, almost like what they do. Like Spielberg's notorious for it with all his films, or even like Dick Donner, overlapping dialogue where you guys are saying stuff at the same time, but it flows so beautiful. I hate that I can't pull up that moment, but guys, you got to see Black Phone. You got to check out the work that's done in this film. So all right, so you're on set, you get the part. What was it like when you got the call?
Usually it's just an email from my agent, you booked it. And so
that's it.
There's some excitement there, obviously, because you start to get the details about what it's about and get the script and, and find out, what the involvement is. For me, it was about trying to go ahead and find how to find 5 weeks off of work to come to North Carolina from Georgia.
Yeah.
As not full-time working actors, I have a survival job, and that job is I'm an ICU nurse, and so it's been pretty busy, particularly during the pandemic, that I was working a lot, and so I had to try to, I ended up going in and saying, look, I have the opportunity to do this project, and it's important to me, and I'm going to do it, and I'm asking for your support. Right. And know that I will do what I can to, pick up extra shifts ahead of time. And when I get back, and if I can come back between shoots, I will come and fill in as much as I can. But we got to make this work somehow. And they were good.
That's the thing about actors in general. People don't realize that 85% of all Screen Actors Guild actors book maybe 3 shows a year. And that could be a commercial. It could be a feature film that you're on for 3 to 5 weeks, or a day player part. And the 15% that make up SAG, that make all the money, are Tom Cruise, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Those are the bulk of it, right?
Yeah.
And so you do have to have other means in order to, and especially something like that lets you take off 5 weeks to go do a feature film like this, or 3 weeks, or whatever the case may be. But people don't get that. They'll see the movie on TV. This guy, he must be doing. It's like, well, it's not always like that. For most of the people in the film industry,
Well, you know,
Uh,
I talk to younger actors a lot, and my advice has always been from the time, is that you've got to have a good, solid survival job, and some skills, because if you are relying on acting, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be harder and harder to work. And if you are desperate, you will book less too, because it's like smelling fear. you
oh,
know,
I
I truly believe that, because when I finally ended up picking up nursing as a second career, because I had been out there kind of struggling as an actor for a while, and 10 years or
sure.
so out on the road as a theater actor, and I was touring all over the country and directing children's theater, doing all kinds of things. But when I finally decided I needed to find a good steady line of work, and I went to nursing school, it became a lot easier, and I started booking more when I wasn't doing it because I had to book it and I needed the money so badly.
Right, right, right. And see that's what happened with me was I decided to go full time as crew in the film industry, 20 years ago. And because I thought, well, if I'm going to do something, I'd rather be on set all the time learning. It's because I had a truly horrific experience on. I had booked season 2 of One Tree Hill. You've had a bad experience on a film set too. We're about to share bad experiences right now
Okay,
on a film
I
set.
got one or two.
And so season 2 of One Tree Hill, I had booked a one-liner, and as a day player part, I was like a cable technician or something, and it was a scene with Chad Michael Murray, and so I got there, and they give you your trailer, they got your name on it, they do all this kind of stuff. And prior to that, I had been in things, but not to the scale. Did a lot of independent stuff, did voiceover for cartoons, did some small commercials, but I had not been in anything at that big, at that size, at that point. And so and we go onto a sound stage, and it's a fully rigged up sound stage, and it's got, you got 100 crew members all moving around doing things, and cameras and dollies and all this stuff. And so I was like, I had like that red light, the red, what do they call it when you freeze up, you get the red light syndrome or something. And
Again.
I like fumbled my line on the first take, and then they did a second take, and I kind of just and then they moved on. So it was like 2 takes, and they were like, okay, we're moving on. Cause I think, what people fail to realize is, like, actors will get booked on a show, and they usually hire like 5 under 5s is what they call them. People with, cashier number 1, valet number 2, whatever. And you've got under 5 lines. And what happens is they shoot the whole episode, and the episode's always longer than what the episode is. And if there's ever something that's stale or doesn't work, they'll cut out those pieces from the lead actors and drop in some day player stuff to kind of fill it out. Well, my stuff didn't make the cut, and I learned a valuable lesson, that I needed to be more relaxed and on set and kind of understand what was going on. So that's when I pursued getting as a production assistant, and then moving on from there to locations, and moving on from there to accounting, and so on and so on. And that's how now I go on a set, and there's absolutely no fear. It doesn't matter what department it is. I just walk it, and then I know everyone's job. And that's what I didn't know going in. Actors like, oh, all I got to do is act. But then, you kind of want to know, if you hear a lens change, if they're going from a medium shot to wide shot, if they're putting on a different millimeter lens. You listen for things, you listen for cues, things, and it really helps round you. But it was a complete disaster. But then I ended up booking One Tree Hill on the last season, last season with a guest star. So I kind of felt like I went full circle, where I fumbled it the first time in season 2 and came back later in the last season and did an episode. But what's been your worst experience on a set? Or did you ever have an experience like that where you fumbled the ball?
I don't think I've had one where I like truly fumbled. Like I've been fortunate enough that I don't feel like I've totally like
Good
botched
for you,
anything.
man.
But
Good for you.
Well, I had a moment. I worked on this film called Hick with Chloe Grace Moretz, and I had
I
a
worked
scene
on
with
that
her.
movie.
She was young.
Yeah. I worked on crew with
she's
that.
very young. But I played this bus driver at the end, where she's like running away, and she tries to get the bus to stop, and the guy doesn't want to stop the bus, so she fakes a seizure and falls out in the aisle. So it was pretty basic scenes right at the end of the movie. And but when I got there, I had actually worked all night in the ICU the night before and drove straight out to like Kelly out in the woods, North Carolina.
I remember where we were filming. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm literally taking a nap in my trailer, catching a cat, some Z's, waiting, to do this thing. And they're rigging up the bus so they can pull it behind a trailer so it looks like I'm driving. And so I'm just sitting, they call me to the bus. I'm sitting on like second row. And this young guy comes in and just sits like right across from me and just sort of leans in and gets really intense. And he goes, "Talk to me." And I was like, hi. And he's like, "Talk to me." And I was like, what do you want to talk about? And he's like, "Talk to me."
He wanted you to talk to him to make it look like you guys were having a conversation when they filmed.
He was the director.
It was the director.
I didn't know who the hell he was. He was this young kid, and he just kept like leaning in and whispering to me, and I was like,
he wanted to hear your voice,
and I was like, "You want to run the scene?" And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Hey kiddo, I can't stop the bus." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "I can't stop the bus." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "I can't stop the bus." So I'm sitting there going, I'm so fucking cut out of this movie.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I'm trying to remember. That was a wild movie. I was just talking to my wife about that last night. Derek Martini. Derek Martini was Derek Martini was the director of that. Very intense guy.
Yeah.
He also wrote was a writer on Bolden. He wrote Bolden. I think maybe the first version
Heard about
of it.
That filmed over about 15 years, right?
Yeah. Well, they came back and shot it a couple more times, but Dan Pritzker was the director of that, and he, is an heir to a fortune, and wanted him. They spent $100 million kind of reshooting the movie a couple of times till he got it to where he wanted to. But Derek Martini is very, very intense. And I remember they would send me to CVS to pick up. I hope he never sees that. He'll probably, I don't know, pick up. He was quitting smoking, so he needed the patch.
Gotcha.
And he was just always wanting to do this, but doing this. So when he probably was in that bus with you, he was probably, that's hilarious that you tell that story.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. And I really hope he quit smoking, because he was just chaining all the time, but great guy.
Well, I have one other horror story if you have a minute.
Absolutely. Tell me.
So I worked on Ozark.
Ozark
season. Yeah.
Okay.
The first season, and it was an interesting booking because it was not really an acting gig. It was a singing gig, and I got this notice that they were looking for choir singers.
Okay.
And so they were just like, "Sing How Great Thou Art," just a cappella, and send it in. So I was like, okay. So I get the call that I've booked this, right? So I had to go down to Atlanta to go into a studio for them to record before we went on set. So I go, and when I get there, there's 5 of us, the soprano, alto, tenor, bass, whatever. And we're in a studio with a choir director, and they're wanting us to lay down a 4-part harmony track. And literally we were like, all I ever did was sing the first verse of this a cappella with the words. And and like the choir director never met us, wasn't part of the casting process.
Oh no.
They were like, we don't want professional singers. We just want, good voices, and because we want to.
Oh, we're going to hold up. You froze up a little bit. Hold on. We'll wait till we get you back.
And tape this thing. And it was right when Hurricane Michael was coming through, and I got stuck there, couldn't get back to Wilmington. And then on the day when we went down to film, we were on houseboats. It's the scene where they're passing out the drug Bibles on the boats.
I remember that scene on the show. Yeah.
And they're all singing How Great Thou Art in the background while this is going on. So that's us. And we're actually on those boats, but they didn't put us together. So if you've ever been in a choir, choirs stand together. They put each of us on a different boat, and then they wanted us to sing, and they wanted us to lead all of the background, and like,
Oh my God.
so it was this total disaster. The choir director is looking around, making a face because she's on one of the boats too, going like, "Well, that doesn't sound right." We're like, "Of course it doesn't sound right. I don't
We're
know
not
what the fuck I'm
together.
singing."
All right. So you did that episode of Ozark. What season was that? That was season 1, right?
Season 1, episode 5. Yeah.
Episode 5 of Ozark. Guys,
Yeah.
if you get a chance to check out that episode, check out that episode.
Well, we were
That's
16 hours on the water, and nobody could go to the bathroom. They didn't want to stop filming. So like somebody brought up a houseboat, and they were ferrying people off the boats. People were dropping off the boats to pee in the lake, and the climbing back in the boats. Like it was the whole thing was like.
Who was directing that episode? Was it Jason Bateman?
Jason Bateman, what I don't think was directing, because he and Laura Linney were on one of the other boats in that scene. I don't think so. I don't think he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you never want to. I mean, shooting on the water sucks, period. So, and it had to have been cold,
Yeah.
right? Was it because you guys didn't film in the summer?
No, it wasn't cold. I don't remember exactly what time of year it was, but it wasn't summer, you know, because they actually had some scenes with like girls in bikinis. It was filming some other scene, you know, that they were all kind of hanging around.
You were in Halloween. Which Halloween Kills?
Halloween Kills, yeah.
Okay,
and
so
again,
and tell me about that, because I worked on Halloween, but I worked for construction. I drove for construction on the first Halloween. You did Halloween Kills. What was your role in Halloween Kills? You were an EMT?
Yeah, I played Laurie's EMT. There were 2 of us, so it picks up, you know, right off the end of the 2018.
Right off the end of the first. Right.
Yeah. And so they are driving her to the hospital at the end of that movie because she's been all, you know, beat up by Michael. And when she arrives to the hospital, we're the EMTs that run out, pull her off of the back of the pickup truck, and rush her in to have surgery. So it's 35 or 40 seconds, but we were here for like 2 weeks because it was I shot for a day, and then we hung around and then shot. We did an exterior at the community college that they dressed up to be Haddonfield Memorial. So we did
the hospital. They turned I remember when they turned
Yeah.
the college into the hospital. Yeah, the Haddonfield Hospital.
And then the next week we went on the soundstage where they had that entire hospital built in there that I think was left over from Swamp Thing that they redressed.
It was that they redressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was a beautiful hospital. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah.
But it was the first. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was the first day that Jamie Lee Curtis was on set. Was the day that we shot that scene. So it was nice. Everybody was in a great mood. You know, it was kind of old home week and everybody coming back together again after the success of that first one. So it was a really, you know, it was a good, happy time for everybody.
Jamie Lee was really nice on the first one. And I remember, you know, like you never want to be that guy that like, especially if you're a crew member, I hardly ever ask people for photos, you know, I'm just like, but she, you know, she would have probably taken a photo with me, but she would go out of her way to like talk to the cops that were doing the roadblocks for the filming. And she would, you know, get between 2 cops and then take a photo. And so, you know, was really good to everybody. And I've never heard a bad story about Jamie Lee Curtis. I've got friends that worked on Virus and they go way back with her, and she's just a sweetheart. I mean, did you have some good interaction with Jamie Lee?
She was so nice. You know, I sat there pressing my bloody hands into her abdomen for like, you know, 4 or 5 hours. She's very fit. She had a nice toned abdomen for 16. But she was very nice. She talked about projects she was working on. I mean, she was just very open and, you know, very pleasant, you know, all around. Had her dog there with her. So, you know, I got to meet her dog, and she was out walking her dog, you know, the morning of before. And, but yeah, just a very, I mean, I think everything that you see about her is absolutely true.
That's awesome. I'm going to pop this in. All right. Tell me about Zach Morris. Here is you and Zach Morris of obviously Paul Gosler.
Yeah.
Paul Gosler. So what film was this?
This was the series for Fox, The Passage.
The Passage.
And oddly enough, I got to do this twice, because when they shot the pilot, I was in this scene with him, and it was completely different. We went down to Georgia, to Atlanta. We shot in some little police station that they had rigged up. And at the end of the scene, his partner who's hunting him to get the girl comes walking in and he's like, "Hey, you the sheriff that called?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." And then he just pulls out a gun and caps me right in the forehead, and I just drop. And so, but that was the scene, was like basically just his partner walks in, caps me, and then holds a gun on him and takes he and the girl. So
Wow.
I guess during this was supposed to be a mid-season replacement, and I guess somebody decided, well, this is good enough. We want to hang our hopes and dreams on it. So they waited and waited and waited and decided to, put it in the regular lineup. And so they came back and did reshoots, and it was almost a
Yeah.
whole year later.
Yeah, that happens. I know when we shot Eastbound and Down for HBO, we shot the pilot. They shot the pilot, and then when the writer's strike happened back in 2008, so the world shut down. The film industry for 5 months or whatever it was, 6 months, whatever it was. And then when they came back, they picked up stuff that they wanted to redo for the pilot. So that happens all the time. You'll shoot a pilot, and then once you get a green light to go to series, you'll pepper in stuff that you want to replace performance wise or tone wise, or maybe you got a new DP and you wanted a certain look or something.
I think they decided they were going to punch this up because it was the finale of like the pilot episode, like right at the end. And so what was the one guy coming in to cap me was an entire hit squad showing up outside of the police station.
Nice.
And so this was a whole scene where they go and shoot the whole place up, and they're spraying the ceiling and glass is falling. And so that's what this scene turned into. And he ends up like having to kill the whole goon squad to get her out.
I'm really bummed that some of these things I can't pull up to show some of these videos. I got to figure that out. But I'm gonna pop this right in here. So you did a guest star on MacGyver.
Yeah.
The new version of MacGyver.
Right.
And this was a pretty big role because I've watched a bunch of the scenes. Dude, this was huge. So you were playing almost like an Elon Musk kind of character?
Yeah, he was a doctor, and he's coming to like help out. He comes into the agency and is invited in, and they this was an interesting story. Is that it kind of was by accident, I guess. And this is a character that was in the original series, and that was some character that turns out to be a bad guy. And
so you're a bad guy.
Yeah, and so I come in, and he's basically infiltrating their organization. So what happened was, this happened very last minute. I got a call. It was like, "Can you be in Atlanta tomorrow to go get some special effects done?" I had to have a life mask made, and then I came home, and then so they initially were going to have the actor who was the guest star, who was the bad guy, have a disguise for the first 3 scenes, and then peel off his disguise and then carry through.
Oh, so like a Mission Impossible moment.
Yeah. So at the last second, they said, we're not going to do a disguise. We're just going to cast another actor, and then you're going to transform into you at that point in time. So what happens is I play these first 3 scenes, which were pretty substantial, really nice scenes. And then I'm talking to the guy, and all of a sudden I just reach up and peel my face off, and you reveal the other actor. And then he carries through the rest of the show.
That's really cool, man. Because normally they would put a mask on somebody or do something with prosthetics, and so but to use another person is great, because you had to kind of come up with the mannerisms. And did you get to talk to the actual actor that played the part when the reveal happened, to kind of pick his brain about how to walk or how to anything like that?
We sat around, because it was like a 16-hour day, and we sat around and talked like most of the day. So yeah, we got to talk, and he's worked all kinds of sci-fi, and he's been all over the place, and I'm losing my mind because I'm blanking on the character that I played, but his father had actually played that character in the original MacGyver series, and then he came back and played it. It's Dr. Zito. Dr.
Zito.
Yeah, and his father was that character in the original MacGyver series. He's British,
Wow.
British actor.
That's cool. I mean, I had read for a couple of episodes of MacGyver when I was down in Georgia, and I think it had a pretty decent run.
Yeah, a number of seasons, and it was good. Like, I mean, I enjoyed what I watched of it.
Have you ever worked on something? And again, maybe this goes back to Black Phone, but like where most of the time when you come in and you're just there to do your part, you know, you don't get a chance to, I don't know, maybe collaborate a little bit more, or uh, offer ideas for what you think the character should do. Have you had an experience? Is Black Phone something like that, where you actually had a chance to really develop that character, or did you feel like with the director it was just show up, make sure you know your lines, and then he'll kind of guide you?
I feel like we, Roger Mitchell and I, that was my partner, that we had a really great relationship right from the start. Like from the day we met, we had crew coming up and asking us, like, you guys been working together long? Because they assumed we had known each other for a long time. We clicked immediately. We have a lot in common. We're both from theater backgrounds. We're
Okay.
both exactly the same age. So we had a lot in common, and we were both living in Atlanta. And but he's just the greatest guy. He's been doing the father on the Outer Banks for the last 3 seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but he's got quite a resume. He's been busy. He's working a lot, and he's just one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And again, we hit it off from the beginning, and we joked around so much offset, and prior to going on, and we were having crew go and like, you guys need a buddy cop movie. And
No, actually, that's something I was thinking about. I was like, dude, you guys, they could actually, if there was another crime that is committed by somebody else that needs to be investigated, they should, like, you guys should be like a duo, and they should make sequels. They
yeah.
totally should.
Well, I mean, I had all, like, they gave me great wardrobe. I had this really cool kind of Western cut, and they gave me cowboy boots. I had cowboy boots that I loved wearing those boots. And in fact, they gave them to me at the end of production. So I have them in my closet. And they had,
that's a Shawshank moment, because when do you really look at a man's shoes? I did not notice you were wearing cowboy boots in the movie.
Oh, and I felt good walking in those boots, man. They made the character. So, and then
okay, I'm going to have to go back and look.
Michelle Johnson, in hair, she's a legend, but she poofed up my hair, man. I was like, man, if my hair looked this good, I wouldn't wear hats all the time. So she had me boofed up in like a 70s thing where they made me look like I almost had hair. And the back was all like curled around. I was like, I don't even know how you did this, but it's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how does it feel to be a part? Like, I think the budget for Black Phone was like 16 to 18 million. I think they only needed to make like 25.
They made 160 million.
It's like 160 million dollars. How does it feel to be associated with a film that blew up like that, but also kind of has a cult following now?
What's amazing is those kids, all of those kids, not just Mason and Madeline, but all of those, all the boys that were killed, and some of the girls, man, they have blown up all over social media. They've got incredible numbers of followers. And I mean, and if you look at some of these Black Phone sites, like, there are people that are just obsessed with this movie. It's wild.
Yeah, I saw Banks Rapetta has gone on to work with Anthony Hopkins. He was one of the kids that was like
for best actor for a SAG award.
Yeah, he was he was a kid that was like snapped, like,
yeah, he was the one bent over and back, backwards.
Yeah, and of course, Mason. Let me see if I can let me pull up that IMDb for the show, because where am I going here?
And in fact, Stephen King, I think, actually described the show as Stand By Me in Hell.
Oh, did he really?
That was his comment about it.
That's cool. That's really cool. I didn't know. I did not hear that quote, that he said that. Come on.
I think it was a tweet or something he made about it,
So I finished working earlier last year, or earlier this year, with Mason Thames. I drove for Mel Gibson on this movie that comes out. Actually, I think we may get some news about it getting sold like or picked up, or it starts being shopped. It's finished. They got the
Yeah.
score done. It's a movie called The Boys of Summer.
Right.
And if you like the lead actor, the kid that was in Black Phone, Boys of Summer, I think is going to be a really good film. But yeah, I mean, so many of these kids have just gone on to do really good stuff. And then a lot of your scenes were with Jeremy Davies, who was I first saw him. We were talking about this earlier. In Saving Private Ryan. I first saw him in Saving Private Ryan. He was the one when they were chasing the German, and then he wouldn't jump in to help the other one, and the German was like putting the knife in the one actor's chest, going in slowly and talking to him and the other guy was the one that was scared with the rifle.
Yeah.
And there he is right there from Black Phone, right? Or is that Black Phone, or is that something else? No, his shirt's not right.
Yeah.
That couldn't be Black Phone. I guess he's kept the beard for a while.
Yeah.
But he was on Lucifer for a while there.
He was on Lost for a bunch of seasons. He was, there he is in Saving Private.
There he is in Saving Private Ryan. How is he working? Because his character was creepy in that.
He was
playing that father. I don't think I ever figured out, like, the mother, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Black Phone, the mother died, right? Or she went insane and killed herself because she was here. She would see the visions like the daughter did in the dreams.
Yeah. And so I think he was, afraid, obviously probably afraid of his wife and afraid that his daughter was going to end up like his wife. So, the interesting thing about this movie is that you almost don't know, am I less sympathetic to the grabber than I am to the dad? You know what I mean? Because
what I mean?
Like, he's such a monster almost, where he's beating her, and I mean, he's just so dark.
Yeah. And when he was beating the daughter, I was like, oh my God. Like, I would have trouble as an actor playing that.
That was a rough scene to watch. I mean, that's probably the most uncomfortable I've been watching something in a while. I mean, every time I see that segment, I'm like, whew.
And that's why he is who he is, because he will go there.
Yeah.
I will go there. If I had to play something like that, I'd be freaked out. I'd be a little freaked out. Yeah, I know it's make believe. Have you played something that you didn't want to play?
I not really. I mean, I played kind of a psycho. I did this master's level student film that was their senior thesis project, and it was called The Cleansing, and it was I played this cult leader, and we shot out in the woods, and I mean, they put time in this thing. You can check it out on Vimeo. It's there. It's called The Cleansing.
Okay.
They put a tremendous amount of time. They had a huge crew, and they put together. I mean, it was unbelievable that this was a student film in any way. And this kid that directed it and wrote it was amazing. And he since has passed away tragically at like 22. He had such potential, was such a brilliant Nick Ofterhar, and had gone out to LA, to pursue filmmaking. And, it just tragically passed away very young. And but he was at the helm of this, and he was very intense. He had this project and a vision for it. But I played this cult leader who basically had this group out that he kept out in the woods and had for like a generation. So modern world was out there, but he had kept everybody in with him, and he was propagating. He was sleeping with all the mothers and then their children when they got old enough, and so it was a pretty creepy character.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's an actual reckoning. So like the moon turns to blood and the horns blare, and they're all getting called up, and his people don't go, nor does he, after all the things that he promised them.
Not God. All right. So if anyone that's in the chat room, and then people that come to the watch the stream later, because right now we're simultaneously broadcasting on 2 platforms. We're on Movie Madness Entertainment. I want to thank those guys for hosting the show over there. And we're on my channel. So there'll be 2 videos on 2 different platforms streaming. So Max, everyone that's on Movie Madness Entertainment, they're great people. And so I dropped a link, the Vimeo link, for people to check out some of the scenes from Black Phone that you're in. I hope you don't mind I did that.
Sure.
But yeah, I've talked to other people in the industry. I talked to one actor who will remain nameless. Maybe I'll tell you in the when we go off air. But he was asked to do kind of a big thing in a movie, but he had to drop the N word and say it to somebody in a negative way, and he said, "I'll pass." And this is a guy that's been in a ton of stuff,
Yeah.
but he just was uncomfortable with it. Didn't like to do that, you know?
You know,
And so,
I've had those roles where I've had to read for those, you know, clearly very racist, you know, usually a historical. Uh,
right, right.
I I find it easier to do in a historical setting.
Yeah. I mean, if it's slave stuff or something like that, I understand that. But anytime my agents ever come to me to do any of that, I just say no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and if, for me, only because, and this is what this particular actor told me when he turned down saying what he was saying was because he said he didn't want his kids to ever go back and watch him do something like that. Now, but I've got a lot of friends that have worked on a lot of big shows. You know who they are, and they've played slave owners and they've done things like that, and they bring the goods with
Yeah.
that acting. You know, me, I don't know. There's just something about it. But also, like, I would drive my agent crazy because he'd call me up and he'd go, "No, hey, I got a commercial. It's a Walmart commercial for you. It's national." And I'd be like, I'm not doing a Walmart commercial. What? This pays so. And I've turned down more things in my time because, like, for me, I think at the end of the day, I want to do things that make me happy and that make me feel good when I put my head down at
Yeah.
night to sleep.
Well,
But that's
I
just me.
wanted to be was a, you know, I never wanted to be a movie star. I just want to be able to continue, you know, acting, and I would like to be a serviceable character actor, you know, and to continue doing it because I enjoy doing it and I like the process, and you know, that's something that I've always wanted to do. So you know, I don't have any, you know, illusions of grandeur, and I just want to keep working, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I did when I was in my 20s. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the next Brad Pitt. Then your 30s roll around, and then your 40s roll around, and then but then when you're on movie sets too, and you see how some of the stars are treated or how their lives are just completely exposed, being a character actor is really the way to go, and you can have longevity as a character actor. You know, you may not make 20 million a picture, but you're peppered throughout a long career. I think character acting is in some respects way better because I'd rather be the guy that they go, I saw you in that movie, than being hoarded. Or it's like, I don't know your name, but I know who I've seen you in like 5 things. Like,
Right.
to me, that's beautiful because you get the cake and you get to eat it too. It's like you get to be in things and then but you don't have the bigness of it.
Yeah. Well, Sean,
the
I think there's a gift to getting older too, you know, and I think that I have worked a lot more after 40 than I ever did before. And you know, and I think that part of that is, you know, is filling into that character, more of those character roles. And as I joke about embracing my inner Brimley, you know, that
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing for me. Like, I actually got better as time went on and would land things as I got older. When I was in my teens and early 20s, I remember auditioning for Dawson's Creek, and I remember the casting people at that time had said to me, you know, Shaun, and this is when I was like, I was skinny, I had the big poofy hair, you know, just like I was the, you know, trying to be the it guy and all that stuff, the 90210 kind of, you know, look and all that stuff. And they had said to me, you know, we're specifically told not to cast or show people that are better looking than the leads.
Hmm.
And I was like, you mean I can't even like being a day player? They didn't want anyone. I'm not saying I'm good looking, but back then I wasn't bad looking. But they told me that they literally told me that we're not going to read you that much for this particular show because,
but you know,
you know,
you can follow that thread even now. Is it like the people that I know that are working the most have some sort of interesting character trait? They're not your next door neighbor, you know, sort of good looking or average looking, or just sort of, it's that they're really short or they're really big or they're really tall or
like
they've got,
like, yeah, you know, Justin Smith, yeah,
yeah, yeah, you
really
know,
tall guy. Yeah, I
freckle
mean,
face, freckle faced redhead, or if there's some kind of interesting character, trait that they have, then they work a lot
A
because
lot.
just all very interesting, and I feel like I just look like some kind of schmo from next door. And,
No, and I think that's great. I remember when we were doing Under the Dome, Stephen King had requested that even the background actors, he said, I wanted people that looked uh, just, had odd looks and that just weren't exactly normal, but also normal. Meaning he just didn't want a bunch of pretty people in his show.
Yeah.
He wanted everyday average people in the show. And I think that opens up opportunities up for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when was your big break? What was your big break?
My big break. I'm still waiting on it, Shaun.
But what, I mean,
how do you know when it happens?
well, what was your first big job like that, even if it was a day player, like what was it?
Well, I guess, I worked Under the Dome. I worked One Tree Hill and Dawson's Creek as well, as day player.
Day players, right?
My Dawson's Creek was funny because it hit the cutting room floor like so many did. I feel like they really overshot that show because it ran longer. It was always longer than it should be. And there were always scenes like every episode that got cut.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier about how they shoot a bunch of stuff with single actors that are doing different things within the show. If the performances look a little flat on the leads, they cut to the day players, but if everything works out great, the day players lose out.
So I had a little scene with Katie Holmes in one of those later where he's starting to be a filmmaker and we're shutting down Market Street for them to film. Okay. And I'm playing like a cop who's there for crowd control or whatever. And I had a little thing where I walk in and start talking to Katie Holmes. And then I ask, am I getting paid for this? And she said, you'll receive your reward in heaven, and hands me a donut.
And that got cut?
And I take a bite of the donut and like walk off. And now, so you just now see me walking across the street and then it just disappears.
That's what happens. It happens all the time. And there was somebody that your agent represents that landed a part in a Marvel thing, and they filmed it and everything. And then I remember seeing on social media, there was this big push. Oh, go see this movie. I'm not saying the name, and I'm not saying the name of the movie, because when that particular person saw the film, the Marvel film, that particular person's stuff was cut. But it'd been pushed on social media to go see the movie to support, and that's something like, even after I was cut out of One Tree Hill, I never tell people I'm in anything until I see it myself on screen. And then I'll tell people, oh, go watch it, go back and watch it, or because you can get your whole family hyped up. I'm on this thing. And then when they all tune in and they watch the episode, and it may be something they don't normally watch, and they'll be like, what, they call you, hey, we didn't see you in that. What happened? And then you have to explain, oh, well, I guess I was on the cutting room floor, because what people fail to realize is that people like you and I that do, day player parts we don't know if stuff's going to get cut. They don't tell us. They're not calling up, cashier number 2 to let them know his stuff's in the film. You have to wait till it comes out. You don't know. So it's a catch-22 with some of those parts early on with a career. But I mean, again, like doing something like Black Phone where you're in the whole thing. It's great. First, second, and third act. I mean, it's like, I loved it, man. I really loved it. And
I mean, obviously that is my high point, so far as an actor. And I having the time on it and feeling like I'm really a part of that movie. And I had the opportunity to go to LA for the premiere, and went out to Grauman's Chinese Theater and
oh, wow.
Watch the premiere and walk the red carpet. So, my wife and I went, and so that was amazing. That was for me kind of a once in a lifetime. Who knows if I, will have that opportunity again, but it was,
you've got some of those pictures up on Facebook, right?
Yeah,
from the premiere.
So.
I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to find them. I'm going to put them up here in a second. So what else do you have? Anything going on now? Like, have you been reading for stuff that, you think might pop off? Like what's
well, you never know. I had a couple of auditions that I just turned in, but it's, what I have found is the pandemic, I think, has been kind of a gift in one way, that we're doing a lot more of, of self-taping and not having in the room auditions and callbacks. So I mean, that part of it has sort of sped the process a little bit. But
Right, right.
the other thing that it did is, um, in the old days, I say the old days, if you got a note that you were being sent on to the producer, you were like, I'm packing my bags, I've got this.
Yeah.
And in my experience, it was always, if you got that note, then you had booked it. And in the recent years, or since the pandemic, and I guess they're overbooking, or they're picking 2 or 3 people and then
Oh,
holding
wow.
all on the hook until the last minute. Because I've had 6 projects where I've had, you've been sent on the producers, your availability checks, and then they just, none of them materialized.
Oh,
So I
man.
think it's that they're just holding on to 2 or 3 people, and just in case somebody pops a positive COVID, they can grab the next one.
Man, I didn't even think about that.
Mhm.
Every single show I've worked
My
on in
my son's been doing some work, and he had one of those where we figured he was the number 2, because he had a call and availability check and all of this, and being kind of held on. And then the last minute, he gets this like, can you be in Atlanta tomorrow? And then 6 hours later, as we're trying to arrange things, they're like, oh, never mind. And what had happened was, he was the number 2 choice. The number 1 popped a positive COVID, and then did a second test that was negative. So they were like, nope, never mind. You're good.
Oh, that's
So it was like, that close.
every single show I've worked on in the last couple of years has had shutdowns for COVID. I mean, I think every single production globally
The
has.
Black Phone did not, and we were right in the height of it. We were March
Oh,
of 20.
yeah. Yeah.
And I will tell you that I was blown away by the product.
Wow.
I was like, if these guys running the COVID department were running the federal government, we'd have COVID been over, because
I
those
would have
guys,
liked them on my shows.
they
That
had
COVID, that health and
free
safety team.
zone. They had the locators, where if you were near a locator that popped a positive, they could tell everyone that was around that locator. I mean, they shut it down. And
Wow.
we didn't have a shutdown during that whole film, the 31 days or whatever of the shoot.
Some of the stuff that I've worked on, has had, a day here or a half day. Okay, send everybody home for the day, and then we come back the next morning and we all test all 200 crew members, and then we go back to work. The Mel Gibson one that I did was, we shut down for 14 days because we had like 50 crew members drop. It was like back in January of this year when the Omicron wave first hit. Like people came back from Christmas break and they all flew into town from all different states, and then of course within 1 week it was like everybody had COVID on the show. But yeah, that's good. I didn't realize Black Phone didn't shut down. That's great, because all the other shows in town had delays or shutdowns.
I was duly impressed.
Wow. That's awesome.
And of course, I'm working in a COVID ICU during this whole time, and being like, wow, you guys got this down.
No, and I appreciate you reaching out to me when I had gotten COVID before the vaccines, and was sick for 21 days and all that stuff. Thanks for reaching out to me. I appreciated all your input and everything, because you saw it. You were right there seeing what was going on in the ICUs. It's insane.
The anxiety high, so I'm glad that I was able to reach out to you a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was. I was freaking out. But yeah, man, listen, I'm so glad that you were able to do this today, and to share some stories from Black Phone, and share the stories with Jamie Lee Curtis. And then of course, when we talked about MacGyver, you've had some really good stories, and you are a really absolutely solid father. You've got great kids. It's like you've got everything. And so I just wish you the best. And I can't wait to see. I'm always looking, because, you're that guy that's just going to keep popping up in things here and there. And I really hope that the Black Phone actually can get you more work. Obviously you keep reading. If there's like 6 projects you've been reading for, so people are reading you, and it's just really nice to have you on the show today, to chew the fat with us. I'll try to get some other people on and have some fun, because this is one of the things I like to do, is just expose people to the inner workings, because a lot of people, a movie will come out and people watch it and they'll rip on it on TV or something, or on the internet or something, and but they don't know the inner workings. And so if you can have some people on, like my last episode, I had Jeff Goodwin on talking about special effects and going all the way back to the 80s.
Yeah,
it's nice to expose people to there's a lot of meat and potatoes people in this business. It's not just all about Tom Cruise and Julia Roberts, and our stories should be out there as well. And again, it gets people closer, when you have these conversations, to people that you may not have ever had access to, but you watch Black Phone and we're like, oh dude, those detectives were great. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and so here he is on the channel. So thanks for coming out today, man, and doing an hour with us. And I wish you the best. Is there anything you want to plug? You got anything going on? You got any theater going on?
Plug something that's actually passed, and it's one we hadn't talked about. It's a movie called The 24th.
Okay.
It's a historical piece about the 24th Infantry. It's a true story about the 1917 riot in Houston with the All Infantry. And Kevin Wilmot wrote and directed it. He won the Oscar for Black Klansman, but it is a beautiful. I mean, it's rough to watch because there's a lot of overt racism and all. But this is true story. They took some and fictionalized some names, but all the events are real.
Where can people see this?
It's all over like Amazon, and it's all the streaming services have it. But it's called The 24th. Trey Byers stars in it. Thomas Hayden Church. But it's really quite a powerful piece.
Yeah, there's guys, I put in the comment section a link to some stuff from Black Phone, but also your demo reel is on your IMDb. The IMDb link is also in and this scene that you do here with Thomas Hayden Church. I know there's no audio, but guys, you gotta get on his IMDb and check out this scene. It's so intense. It's so good. It's absolutely great acting between both of these guys. So, and if you haven't seen, if it's on Amazon or if it's on a streaming platform, search it out. What's the name of the movie again? Is the 24th?
The 24th.
The 24th. And this is about the 24th Infantry.
1917. Yeah, it's
1917.
Beautifully
the 24th. Done. All right, guys, check out the 24th. Check out Black Phone. Troy, thank you for being on. We're going to end the broadcast, but you and I are going to go talk behind stage here in just a second. But thanks for everybody coming out. And once again, thanks Movie Madness Entertainment for doing a dual broadcast. And we'll see you guys. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see you guys on the next one.